Welcome back to the Deep Dive. I am so glad you are here because today we are walking right into the middle of a collision.
A pretty big one.
And I don't mean a car crash, although depending on how you look at some of the data we have today, it might feel a little bit like one for certain parts of the industry.
That's a good way to put it.
We are looking at the collision between one of the oldest, most tangible industries in human history, real estate, and, well, the fastest moving, most intangible technology of our lifetime artificial intelligence.
It is a massive topic. And I think for a lot of people, when they hear AI in real estate, their brain immediately goes to, I don't know, robot butlers showing you around a penthouse.
Right. Or maybe a smart fridge that locks you out because you had too much cheese.
Which, to be fair, might be a feature some of us could actually use. But the reality is much more pervasive and, honestly, a lot more interesting than just smart appliances.
Oh, way more.
We are talking about the fundamental rewiring of how we buy, sell, value, and literally inhabit physical space.
Exactly. We're not just talking about convenience. We're talking about algorithms that are predicting neighborhood gentrification before a single artisan coffee shop even opens.
We're talking about buildings that are learning to feel their occupants, to anticipate their needs. It's a huge shift.
And to really get to the bottom of this, we have pulled together a pretty massive stack of research. We aren't just looking at one angle here.
No, we really cast a wide net for this one. It's too big a topic to tackle with just one source.
We did. So on the table, we've got the 2025 Technology Survey from the National Association of Realtors. That gives us the view from the street level, what agents are actually doing, not just what the tech companies say they're doing.
The ground truth, which is so important.
Then we have a very heavy-hitting congressional testimony regarding algorithmic bias, which is the really serious and, deeply serious side of this coin.
And that's something we absolutely have to spend time on. Then we also have some fascinating academic research from York St. John University on smart building ecosystems.
And that gets into the physical reality of it all.
It does. Plus, we've got a couple of industry guides on things like predictive analytics and natural language processing. So we are really trying to cover the whole spectrum here, from the code all the way to the concrete.
So the mission for this deep dive is basically to decode whether AI in this sector is actually helpful or if it is just a massive hype bubble.
Is it real or is it just marketing?
Exactly. We want to understand how it's changing the physical buildings we all inhabit, and we need to look at the serious ethical red flags that are buried deep in the code.
And to kick things off, maybe I can tease a specific statistic from that York St. John research that really, it just stopped me in my tracks.
Okay, let's hear it.
We often talk about AI making things better, but that's so vague. Let's put a hard number on it. When it comes to valuing a property, figuring out what a building is actually worth, human appraisers have historically hovered around an accuracy rate of about 70%.
70%. That feels shockingly low for something so important. If I'm buying a house, I'd hope the bank knows what it's worth within a better margin than 30%.
It is low, but humans have biases. We have bad days, we miss things, we get emotionally attached to a neighborhood. It's not a perfect science.
I suppose.
Well, this research suggests that AI valuation systems have increased that accuracy to 95%.
Wow. From 70 to 95.
And perhaps even more significantly, it has reduced the processing time from, in some cases, weeks to literally minutes.
That is a staggering leap. You're going from a C- to an A+ in accuracy, and you're doing it in a fraction of the time. That's a game changer.
It's a complete game changer. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, despite those sci-fi numbers, the reality on the ground is a little more grounded.
Okay.
Because according to that National Association of Realtors survey from 2025, the most popular piece of technology isn't a robot butler or a supercomputer brain.
It's e-signature software.
The ability to sign a PDF on your phone.
Exactly. So we have this tension right from the start, don't we? On one hand, you have this revolutionary tech that can price a skyscraper in seconds with near-perfect accuracy.
And on the other hand, you have agents who are just thrilled they don't have to drive across town to get a signature on a Tuesday night.
And that tension is exactly where we need to live for this discussion. It's that gap between the, let's call it, boring, practical tech that keeps the industry moving.
And the truly transformative tech that is quietly reshaping the market's foundation.
So let's start there. Let's unpack that reality on the ground first. Let's look at what the agents are actually using based on that 2025 NAR survey.
Right. So this survey is great because it just cuts through all the marketing fluff. It asks thousands of actual real estate professionals. What do you use every day to do your job?
No theory, just practice.
Just practice. And as you mentioned, the winners are the bread and butter tools, the stuff that's not necessarily sexy, but it works.
We're talking e-signature at 79% usage. I mean, that is the undisputed king.
It really is.
Then you have social media right behind it at 75%, and interestingly, drone photography also at 75%.
Which makes perfect sense if you just stop and think about the day-to-day life of a real estate agent. Why do they adopt a piece of technology?
It's not to be cool.
No. The survey actually asked them this directly. 66%, two-thirds, said their primary motivation is saving time, and 64% said it's to enhance the client experience.
So it's about efficiency and service. It's not about novelty.
Precisely. Think about the friction of the old way, the sheer hassle. Driving to a client's office at 8:00 p.m. to get them to sign a rider.
And then driving back the next morning because you realize they missed a middle initial on page 3.
Exactly. That is friction. That is wasted time and gas and energy. A signature just deletes that friction. It gives the agent their evening back. It lets the client sign from their couch. It's simple, but it's profound in terms of workflow.
Okay, and drones.
Oh.
Because that feels a little more high-tech.
It's the same principle, though. 10, maybe 15 years ago, if you wanted an aerial shot of a property to show the roof line or the neighborhood context or that it backs onto a beautiful park.
You'd have to rent a helicopter.
Wow.
Which nobody did unless they were, I don't know, selling a castle.
Right. It was completely inaccessible. Now, for a few $100, a drone gives you that wow factor. It gives you those sweeping cinematic shots that make a listing pop.
So it solves a very specific problem marketing visuals without creating a massive headache.
It's pragmatic innovation. It has a clear return on investment. The agent spends a little, the listing looks a lot better, the client is happy. It just works.
But let's look at the emerging tech, because that's where the AI story really begins to take shape. The survey says that 41% of realtors are currently using AI or generative AI.
And that's a number that I think would surprise a lot of people.
It surprised me. That seems pretty significant for an industry that, is sometimes criticized for being a bit old school, a bit slow to adapt.
It is significant. We are nearing the halfway mark of adoption. That's not early adopters anymore. That's the early majority starting to come on board.
And when you dig into what they are using, it is overwhelmingly ChatGPT.
It's not even close.
58% usage for ChatGPT. I mean, it is just the dominant player.
It's the Kleenex of generative AI, followed by Gemini at 20% and Copilot at 15%. So what does this tell us? It tells us that agents are using these large language models as essentially a junior copywriter.
Right. Write me a listing description for a 3-bedroom colonial with a charming, sun-drenched kitchen.
Draft a polite but firm email to this difficult client. Give me 10 Instagram post ideas for this new condo listing. It's an assistant for the written word.
But what's almost more telling is what they are not using. This is the part that made me laugh a little, just given how much hype we heard a few years ago.
Yeah.
Virtual reality and augmented reality.
Ah, the metaverse real estate boom.
Right. Buy a plot of land next to Snoop Dogg in the digital world.
Yeah.
And he was everywhere.
It was, for about 6 months.
Well, the survey says 88% of realtors have never used augmented or virtual reality for their business.
That is a crushing statistic for the VR hype cycle. And it goes right back to that pragmatism we talked about.
How so?
Ask the question. Does putting on a clunky headset help you sell a house in the suburbs on a Tuesday afternoon? For most agents, the answer is clearly no. It creates friction, not efficiency.
It's another thing to set up, another thing that can go wrong.
And buying a home is visceral. It's a sensory experience. You need to smell if the basement is musty. You need to hear if the floorboards creak under your feet. You need to feel the sunlight in the living room. VR distances you from that reality. It doesn't enhance it.
That's a great point. And the other big flop, according to this survey, cryptocurrency.
Oh, absolutely. The numbers here are even more stark. 98% of realtors have never been involved in a deal using cryptocurrency.
98%. And on top of that, 76% have zero plans to ever invest in it.
So that's not just, I haven't done it yet, it's, I have no intention of ever doing it.
That is a pretty definitive rejection from the industry.
It is. It shows a massive, massive disconnect between the media buzz, the headlines about buying a penthouse with Bitcoin, and the daily reality of selling homes.
It's just not practical.
It's volatile, it's complicated, the regulatory environment is a mess. Again, it adds friction. Agents are ignoring the noise and focusing on what works. Simple as that.
But they are spending money on technology. That's clear. The survey showed that 34%, so about a third, are spending between $50 and $250 a month on tech tools.
Which is a real line item in their budget. It's not a trivial amount.
And they're seeing results. 45% say their clients respond very positively to tech integration.
So the takeaway here is that technology is no longer a luxury in real estate. It's the baseline infrastructure. If you aren't using these tools, you are falling behind.
But you have to use the right tools, not the hype tools.
Exactly. The ones that save time and make the client feel better taken care of.
So if the right tool right now is increasingly AI, but not VR or crypto, what does that actually look like in practice? Beyond just asking ChatGPT to write a poem about a bungalow?
This is where it gets really interesting. This brings us to the concept of the super agent's assistant. We have this guide from a company called Unity AI and an article from a site called RealSpace that really break down what these specialized AI tools are doing under the hood.
So we're moving from a general tool like ChatGPT to something purpose-built for real estate.
Exactly. We're moving from AI as a typewriter to AI as a partner.
And a key term here is NLP, or natural language processing. We hear that acronym thrown around a lot. Can we unpack what it actually means in this specific context?
Right. NLP is the bridge. It's the magic ingredient. It is what allows a computer to interpret human language not just as a string of keywords, but as actual communication with intent and context and nuance.
So in the old days, if you searched a real estate database for house with big yard and the listing said property with expansive garden,
A dumb computer might miss it because the words big and yard don't appear. It was just simple keyword matching.
very literal.
Extremely literal. NLP, on the other hand, understands that big yard and expansive garden are conceptually the same thing. It understands the meaning, the semantics, not just the text.
So this is what makes a chatbot not dumb.
Exactly. We have all dealt with those dumb chatbots where you feel like you have to guess the exact magic phrase to get any help, and you just end up typing "speak to a human" over and over.
Infuriating.
NLP changes that. It allows for chatbots that can have a real conversation. They can offer 24/7 service, answering complex inquiries, scheduling appointments, and qualifying leads while the human agent is asleep or with another client.
The RealSpace article mentioned something that sounded even more advanced, something called sentiment analysis, which I found fascinating. It sounds almost emotional.
It is emotional in a data sense.
Yeah.
Sentiment analysis is a subset of NLP that allows the AI to analyze the tone of written communication, emails, chats, social media comments. It assigns a score to the interaction, positive, negative, or neutral.
So if a client is sending an email that seems polite on the surface, very formal, but is actually seething with passive aggression,
The AI can flag it. It can pick up on word choices and phrasing that indicate frustration or anger, even when the person isn't explicitly saying, "I'm angry."
that's incredible. Give me a practical example.
Okay, imagine a property manager with 500 tenants. They can't possibly read and emotionally process every single email the second it comes in. But the AI can scan all of them in real time.
And it's looking for trouble.
Essentially, yes. If a prospective tenant is getting really frustrated about a rental application process, or a current tenant is using language that indicates they're about to sue or leave a terrible review,
The AI detects that negative sentiment.
and it flags it. It turns that emotional context into a hard data point. It effectively sends an alert to the human agent that says, "Hey, stop what you're doing. This person is unhappy. You need to call them now."
So it allows the agent to be proactive, to intervene before the relationship completely blows up.
That's it. It's like having an emotional radar. It helps prioritize human intervention where it's needed most.
And this feeds into the broader concept you mentioned, the human AI team. Because there is this pervasive fear in every industry that AI is going to replace people.
Will this replace me? That is the question on everyone's mind.
Of course.
Mhm.
But the Unity guide makes a very strong case that the goal isn't replacement, it's collaboration.
Right. The AI is positioned to handle the high-volume, repetitive, busy work, things like lead qualification, data entry, answering the same 20 questions over and over, like, what are the school districts, or what are the condo fees?
The 2.0 AM questions about square footage.
All of that. This frees up the human agent to focus on what they call high-value tasks.
Which are what
The
exactly?
human stuff, the things a robot can't really do. Building rapport with a client, creative problem solving, and most importantly, negotiation.
Negotiation is so much about nuance, isn't it? It's empathy, it's reading the silence in a room, it's understanding what's not being said.
And AI is nowhere near being able to do that effectively. So the model becomes, AI handles the quantity, humans handle the quality.
The sources mention some specific tools that are already doing this. CI&C has an AI called Alex.
Right, so Alex is a good example. It interacts with incoming leads via text and email, asks qualifying questions, and categorizes them based on their seriousness and timeline.
So instead of an agent waking up to a messy inbox of 50 unvetted leads, they wake up to a clean, prioritized list.
A list that says, these 3 people are pre-approved and want to see houses this weekend. These 5 are just browsing. This one is a tire kicker. It directs the agent's attention.
And then there was Top Producer, which focuses on farming tools to find potential sellers, and Gabby.ai, which acts as a centralized communication hub.
And Unity AI itself, which emphasizes something very, very important for this industry: lower hallucination rates.
Okay, hallucination in AI terms means the AI just makes things up.
Correct. It confidently states falsehoods, and that is absolutely crucial in real estate, where accuracy is a legal and financial necessity.
You cannot have your AI assistant promising a client that a house has a brand new roof and a heated pool when it definitely does not.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen. So you need tools that are grounded in the specific, verified facts of the listing. The AI's creativity has to be kept on a very short leash.
Okay, so that's the software side, the agent side of the equation. But let's shift our perspective now to the hardware, the actual bricks and mortar.
The building itself.
Because the research from York St. John University suggests that AI isn't just helping us sell buildings, it's fundamentally changing how the buildings themselves operate.
This is where we move from smart agents to smart bricks. And the framework the researchers use, which I think is incredibly useful, is the triple bottom line.
Right, and that's economic viability, environmental impact, and occupant well-being.
Exactly. And traditionally, in construction and property management, you feel like you have to pick 2 out of 3. You can have a cheap, efficient building that's miserable to be in, or a beautiful, comfortable building that costs a fortune to run.
The idea that you can have all 3 has always been the holy grail.
And AI is what might finally allow us to achieve it. Let's start with energy, the environmental and economic piece. Buildings are massive energy consumers. The research shows that AI-powered energy management systems can save about 14% on energy consumption.
14% is a huge number when you scale that up across a portfolio of commercial real estate. That's millions, potentially billions of dollars in savings.
It is. But here is the kicker, the part that connects to the third bottom line. They achieve that savings while maintaining 91% resident satisfaction.
So this is crucial. They aren't just turning off the heat in February and freezing everyone out to save a buck.
No, that's the old dumb way of saving energy. The new smart way is about prediction and optimization. And that is thanks to some advanced techniques, specifically something called ensemble methods and hybrid AI.
Okay, let's unpack those terms. Ensemble methods. It sounds like a musical group.
It's a similar idea. Think of it like a medical diagnosis. If you go to one doctor with a complex problem, they might be right 70% or 80% of the time. They have their own biases, their own areas of expertise.
Sure.
But if you go to a board of 5 specialists, a cardiologist, a neurologist, a GP, an oncologist, and they all look at your chart and then vote on the diagnosis, your accuracy goes way, way up.
It's the wisdom of the crowd.
But the crowd is a bunch of highly specialized AI models. You combine multiple algorithms to leverage their unique strengths, and, just as importantly, to cancel out their individual weaknesses.
So one AI model might be great at predicting how the weather will impact heating needs. Another might be great at predicting building occupancy schedules based on historical data.
Precisely. You combine them, you let them vote, and the research shows this pushes the prediction accuracy for things like energy demand to 95, 99%.
That is incredibly precise. So the building's brain knows almost exactly how much heat it will need 3 hours from now based on the weather forecast, who's likely to be in the office, and a dozen other factors.
And then you add another layer of intelligence called transfer learning.
Okay, what's that?
This allows a new AI system to get smart fast. It can learn a specific building's unique thermal patterns in weeks instead of months by using data from other similar buildings.
It's like downloading a skill set. It doesn't have to start from scratch.
That is a perfect analogy. If you already know how to play the guitar, learning to play the bass is much easier because you already understand the fundamentals of frets and strings and rhythm. The AI takes the fundamentals of energy management from building A and applies them to building B. It accelerates the learning curve dramatically.
This connects directly to another concept I loved in the research: predictive maintenance. The idea of fixing something before it breaks.
The predict and prevent strategy. This is a total game changer for property managers and building owners. The old model is run to failure. The HVAC unit runs until it makes a horrible noise and dies, and then you have an emergency.
And it always dies on the hottest day of the year.
Always. Predictive maintenance uses IoT Internet of Things sensors to monitor the health of every critical piece of equipment in real time.
So we're talking about vibration sensors on the HVAC units, temperature sensors in the plumbing, acoustic sensors listening for unusual sounds.
Everything. The AI learns the normal operating signature of a healthy machine. The moment it detects a tiny deviation, a slight increase in vibration, a subtle change in temperature, it flags it. It says, hey, the bearing on pump number 3 is showing early signs of wear. You should schedule a replacement next Tuesday.
And the stats on the impact of this are just wild. The research says it reduces unplanned downtime by 70%.
Imagine that. 70% fewer emergency calls at midnight because the boiler broke. 70% fewer angry tenants. The impact on operational stability is immense.
It also cuts operational costs by 17.6% and extends the life of the equipment by 25 to 30%.
So you are literally making your multi-million-dollar machinery last years longer just by listening to it better. The ROI is astronomical.
And they take it even one step further with something called digital twins.
Ah.
This sounds like a prop from a sci-fi movie.
It kind of is, but it's real. A digital twin is an exact, living, virtual replica of the physical building. It's a simulation that is continuously updated with real-world data from all those IoT sensors.
So what's the point of having a virtual copy?
You can experiment on it. You can run scenarios in the digital twin to see what would happen in the real world without any risk.
Like what?
What if we change the airflow schedule in the West Wing? What if a new company moves in and occupancy on the 3rd floor doubles? What if we have a heat wave for 3 straight weeks? You can test different strategies and see which one is most efficient in the simulation.
Before you actually implement it and risk making the real tenants uncomfortable.
Exactly. And the research bears this out. Buildings that actively use digital twins show, on average, 23% better energy efficiency because they can fine-tune their operations in the virtual world before deploying them in the real one.
Speaking of comfort, there was a paradox in the research that I found really surprising. The occupant-centric paradox.
Yes, this is one of those counterintuitive findings that I just love because it says something profound about how we should design these systems.
Lay it out for me.
The researchers found that AI systems that prioritize occupant comfort above all else, so their main goal is to optimize temperature, lighting, air quality specifically for the people inside, those systems actually achieve better energy efficiency than systems that are programmed to only focus on cutting power.
Wait, that doesn't seem to make sense on the surface. You would think prioritizing comfort would mean you use more energy, not less.
You would think so. But it turns out when residents are happy and comfortable, they interact more constructively and predictably with the building systems.
What does that mean, interact more constructively?
It means they aren't rebelling against the building. When people are cold, what do? They bring in their own little personal space heaters from home.
Which are huge energy disasters.
Total disasters. They block air vents with cardboard. They crack open windows while the AC is blasting. They constantly override the thermostat settings, fighting with the automated system.
Uncomfortable humans create chaos.
Exactly. Uncomfortable humans create a chaotic, unpredictable system that is impossible for an AI to optimize. Happy, comfortable residents, on the other hand, make for a stable, predictable system. And that stability is what the AI can then optimize to perfection.
So by treating people well, you actually get a better financial and environmental outcome.
Who knew? It's a really powerful validation for that whole triple bottom line concept. The 3 goals aren't in conflict. They're synergistic.
Okay, so we've got smart agents and we've got smart buildings. Now I want to look at the money, the investment side of real estate. Because the blog from Hycron Software and parts of the York St. John research talk about what is essentially the crystal ball.
This is the death of the gut feeling.
Right. We have this romantic image of the old school real estate developer who just knows a neighborhood is going to pop. He, and it was usually a he, walks around, smells the air, and buys up a whole block based on intuition.
And that developer is being replaced, or at least very heavily supplemented, by predictive analytics. This is all about using massive amounts of historical data to forecast future risk and opportunity.
So how does it actually work? It can't just be looking at past sales prices in the area.
No, that's the old model. This is data ingestion on a massive scale. They are taking sales history, yes, that's the foundation. But they are also layering in dozens, sometimes hundreds of other data streams.
Like what?
Zoning laws, crime statistics, school ratings, public transport development plans, new business permits.
And even, as the source mentioned, social media buzz.
Yes, this is a fascinating one. Is a particular neighborhood suddenly trending on Instagram? Are food bloggers posting about a cool new coffee shop or restaurant opening there?
That buzz is often a leading indicator of gentrification or value growth.
It can be. It's a signal. And the AI is designed to pick up on those weak signals that a human analyst might miss. And it finds these connections using very sophisticated techniques.
Like neural networks.
Exactly. Neural networks are designed to find hidden, nonlinear connections in data.
Give me an example of a nonlinear connection. What does that mean?
Okay, so a linear connection is simple. As school ratings go up, property values go up. A human can spot that easily. A nonlinear connection is much more subtle.
Okay.
A neural network might see something like this. When a specific type of artisan coffee shop opens and traffic patterns on nearby streets shift by more than 5%, and there is a small uptick in building permits specifically for bike lanes, that very specific combination of three seemingly unrelated things almost guarantees a property price spike in the next 18 months.
It sees the constellation, not just the individual stars.
That is the perfect way to put it. It finds the complex recipe for growth. And the Hacron source also mentioned cluster analysis. That's about segmentation.
So not just treating a city as one big market.
Not at all. The AI can segment a city's neighborhoods into very specific dynamic clusters. Up-and-coming millennial hubs, stable empty nester zones, high-risk, high-reward investment areas. It allows investors to target their strategy with laser precision instead of using a shotgun.
And it is also about risk management, not just finding opportunities.
Scenario simulation. This is incredibly valuable for institutional investors. An investor can go to the AI and ask, what happens to my portfolio if interest rates hike by 2% over the next year? Or, what if that big local factory that employs 5,000 people closes down?
It allows you to stress test your investment against possible futures before you spend a single dime.
Exactly. It quantifies risk in a way that was never possible before. And this all comes back to that York St. John stat we started with, valuation accuracy up to 95%. It creates a level of confidence and precision in real estate investment that simply didn't exist before.
It all sounds incredibly efficient. Faster, cheaper, more accurate, less risky. But, and you knew there was a but coming.
There is always a but on this show.
We need to look at the shadow side. Because when you are feeding all of this historical data into these powerful systems, you are making a giant assumption that the data is clean, that it's fair.
And that is a very, very dangerous assumption to make.
To talk about this, we have the congressional testimony from Lisa Rice, who is the president of the National Fair Housing Alliance. And she brings us crashing back down to reality with the concept of algorithmic bias.
This is, without a doubt, the most critical part of this entire conversation. If we don't get this right, all that efficiency and accuracy we just spent 20 minutes admiring comes at a terrible moral cost.
Lisa Rice's testimony makes the point very powerfully that algorithms are not built in a vacuum. They are not objective, godlike things. They are built by humans, and they're trained on data. And in the United States, our housing data is built on a very long and painful history of discrimination.
We're talking about redlining, the Homeowners Loan Corporation maps from the 1930s that literally colored minority neighborhoods red and labeled them hazardous. FHA underwriting standards that were explicitly race-based for decades.
This isn't ancient history. This is the structural foundation of our modern housing market. And she used a quote that really stuck with me. Equality is not a concept. It's a necessity.
And she explains the mechanism of the bias so clearly. It's not that engineers are programming the AI to be racist.
No, it's more insidious than that.
It is. If you train an AI on decades of historical loan data, and that history involves qualified minority applicants being systematically denied loans at higher rates than their white counterparts, the AI learns a pattern.
It learns that being a minority is correlated with being a high risk.
It doesn't know why. It doesn't understand the history of racism or systemic bias. It just sees the data. It sees a correlation and treats it as causation.
And so it replicates it. Or worse, it amplifies it. It creates what she calls digital redlining.
Exactly. The AI isn't racist in the human sense of having malice. It is a mirror reflecting a biased history. But because it's a computer, because it's math, we tend to trust it as being objective and fair. We think, well, the algorithm said so. But the algorithm's logic is based on fundamentally flawed and discriminatory variables.
The testimony goes on to list the real-world impacts. Algorithms are now determining who even sees housing ads online? That's digital marketing bias.
Who gets a loan? That's automated underwriting.
And who gets approved for an apartment? That's automated tenant screening.
And there was a specific devastating example she gave regarding the COVID-19 Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP loans.
Right. This was supposed to be a lifeline to save small businesses, but it was rolled out quickly using a lot of automation. And that automation favored businesses with existing strong banking connections.
And because of historical inequities in the banking system, that meant the system, in its initial phase, effectively excluded 95% of Black-owned businesses.
95%. That is a catastrophic failure of automated public policy.
It is. It shows how a system designed for efficiency can perpetuate and deepen inequality at incredible speed and scale.
So what is the solution? I mean, we can't just throw the computers away. The genie is out of the bottle.
Lisa Rice's testimony calls for what she terms human-centered AI, and she draws a really smart analogy to developing a vaccine. Just as scientists use the virus itself to create a vaccine against it, we can use the power of AI to detect and cure these unfair patterns in our society.
So using the AI to find the bias, not just replicate it.
Yes. You can intentionally build what are called adversarial algorithms, whose entire job is to test your main model for fairness. You can programmatically tell the AI, go find where this model is being unfair to a protected class, but you only do that if you design the system with equity in mind from the very beginning.
You have to be intentionally looking for it. It won't just fix itself.
It will not. And it's worth noting, the academic paper from York St. John aligns with this completely. They specifically flag algorithmic bias as a critical implementation barrier for all this smart building tech. They note that poorly designed models will simply amplify human prejudice, and if that happens, the technology will ultimately fail because it won't be trusted.
So where does this leave us? We have covered a lot of ground today, from the very simple to the profoundly complex.
We have. We have agents on the ground using tech simply to save time. That's the boring but effective stuff from the NAIR survey. We have physical buildings that are starting to think for themselves to save energy and prevent breakdowns, thanks to York St. John research.
And we have investors using these data-driven crystal balls to predict the future of neighborhoods from the Hicron insights.
But looming over all of it is that stark, crucial warning from the Congressional testimony. We must ensure that all of this powerful technology doesn't just repeat the mistakes of the past at hyperspeed.
It feels like we are at a major crossroads, a real inflection point.
We absolutely are. That triple bottom line we talked about earlier, economic viability, environmental impact, occupant well-being, it's not a complete model. It has to include that social equity piece. The future of real estate is the synergy of all four. You cannot drop one of those balls.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? If you are buying a house or renting an apartment or just walking into your office building tomorrow morning?
It means you are walking into a system that is increasingly watching, learning, and predicting. The building isn't just a pile of bricks and pipes anymore. It's an information system.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away from this deep dive.
It does. We are undeniably moving toward a world where a building is a learning organism. It knows you are cold before you shiver. It knows you might be looking to move before you call an agent. It knows that the neighborhood is about to change long before the for sale signs go up.
The building knows what you want before you do.
In many ways, yes. But the question I want everyone to mull over is this. If the building is learning, who is teaching it? And whose history is it using as its textbook?
Because if it's learning from a flawed, biased, and incomplete history, it's going to build a flawed, biased, and incomplete future.
A learning organism is only as good as its teacher.
That is a powerful and, frankly, a somewhat unsettling place to leave it. Thank you for guiding us through this incredibly dense stack of sources today.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating, complex world we are all building together, whether we realize it or not.
And thank you to everyone listening. You are now officially well informed on the collision of AI and real estate. We will catch you on the next Deep Dive.